Yo, what's up? My name is Shuno, and you may have seen me from my type beats or on TikTok, or you just don't even know me at all. Well, today we are going to be covering what happened to these three artists in the past year. I feel like there's been a lot of changes. I feel like there's been a lot of crazy shit in the past year. But if you want to hear about any artists or you want me to cover any artists that aren't Skell, Jaydes, or Jacko, let me know in the comments because I'm very open to doing more stuff like this. So, obviously, you're familiar with Jeremiah Justin Sims, better known as wifiskeleton. He was born July 24th, 2003, in Atlanta, Georgia, and he came into the public view in the late 2010s under the alias Cyrus, creating commentary videos on YouTube. His content focused on internet culture, drama, humor, and storytelling. And under Cyrus, he built a following, but the YouTube channel eventually got shut down and deleted around early 2023, I think. And as he shifted away from the YouTube commentary, Jeremiah experimented with music under several aliases. You may have heard Secret Saturdays, and of course Star 67. His early music explored a ton of different genres, but then in later 2022 is where you see Jeremiah really lock in, fully rebranding himself as wifiskeleton and embracing this more darker aesthetic with more themes of rock and alternative and indie music. And this is where you also see the birth of collectives like Goth Angels. Also around the time where he started working with Mandy, which obviously is Jaydes. Other artists like Keep Secrets, Witchbox. But then we start getting into where he starts making the gold, where he starts making the bread and the butter. So his debut mixtape Love Fool dropped June of 2024, so June of last year. And this project introduced many listeners to, him and his profile and his group and everyone associated with that. So that was very good. But even better, Suburban Daredevil, his debut album. And this is where you get to see the most amount of success come from, especially the one song at the very end with Jacko. Obviously, I talked about his passing before, so I'm not going to go fully back into that. But what I will say is that it did affect the trajectory of where things were going. Suburban Daredevil was phenomenal and still is phenomenal, but I feel like Pony isn't ever really gonna get the same amount of recognition. It does leave a lot of what if speculation around what he could have been if this never happened. So that's something that I always wondered about, but something I also wondered about is how Jaydes felt about all of this while being locked up. If you haven't heard of him already, Jaden Yen Dumont, better known by his stage name Jaydes, formerly Evils, is a musician based out of Pompano, Florida, and he was born February 24th, 2006. And just like Skell, he also had quite the big following in the underground. So 2019 through 2020, he started recording music and releasing tracks on SoundCloud. In 2021, he released the EP. I don't even know what the hell it's called. How do you even say that shit? In 2022, he released Romanticism and Heart Pacing, which are some of his most successful releases to date. And then in 2023, that is when you get his full first studio album, Ghetto Cupid. And now that leaves us in 2024 through 2025. I feel like this is where you get the most interesting set of events. So, in May 2024, he released the EP Bipolar. There were some very interesting words and some very interesting lyrics in some of these songs. And then on July 19th, 2024, you see Count Up Dracula. And this is probably one of his most hated projects, I think, to this date is the most hated. Later in the year, on Halloween of 2024, you see the release of his EP Panic. And I feel like Panic and Count Up Dracula are the most similar, but those two are very different from the rest, and that is probably why they were very much hated.
Play it back? Play what? Wait, what do you want me to play back?
Not gonna lie, you played it. Do not play this shit back. On God, you play this shit back. I'm leaving this. Please, I'll play it back.
But only 2 days after the release of his EP Panic, Jaydes gets accused of some pretty insane things on November 2nd. And I'm not going to go fully into detail. I'm sure you can find a million other clickbait videos just like this one that you can watch what happened, but we are going to talk about the trials. So, Mr. Jaden Yen Dumont has his first hearing December 16th, and things are looking very interesting because there's not a lot of details going around. All we really knew at the time is that he was in Broward County Jail, and one thing leads to another, and now he's waiting there until March. And March 3rd rolls around, and they say, hey, you're gonna be here until April. So April 16th rolls around, and he gets put on a wait list until June 4th. And June 4th comes around, and they say, hey, we're gonna make you wait until September. Well, September 8th rolls around, and they're like, hey, we're gonna make you wait until October. So, the date that they have given us is October 17th, but his attorney has filed for defense motion for downward departure, and, I know nothing about any of this and know nothing about the legal system, so I'm not even gonna try to tell you what is going on, but it's not looking wonderful. I mean, it hasn't looked good. I feel like it is obviously gonna get better in due time, but for now, they are really not making him a priority whatsoever. And being incarcerated for a whole year really raises a lot of questions, like, is he ever gonna have the same connections that he had before he got locked up? Are the same people gonna want to work with him? There's a lot of questions. And that leaves us with our final artist that we are going to talk about. I want to be a jack-o'-lantern. There's not a lot of information I can find about this, and I feel like this guy is very mysterious. I do feel like it's intentional. I feel like maybe he just doesn't want to be a part of a spotlight, and I can totally understand that. In the past year, Jacko is really the only one that's benefited off of all the crazy shit that's been going on. I hope he takes all of this recognition that he's getting and uses it to give his audience and his fans something wonderful. But that's it for these three. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I would like to know if you want to hear about any other artists, let me know in the comments. Real crazy changes in the underground in the past year, so I just thought it would be good to go over them with you. So, yeah, that's really it. Bye.